Just a moment. Let's talk about this with Sean Spicer, musical theater buff, communications director, and chief strategist for the Republican National Committee. Sean, thank you very much for joining us right now.
I appreciate you having me. I like the purple, and I assume that's a tribute to Prince.
Of course, obviously, all week long.
Where's your purple?
5 states voting today,
That's
Sean.
right.
5 states. How much clarity will we get out of today?
Well, once I know the outcome, I'll tell you. You got 172 delegates at stake. I think as Donald Trump pursues 1,237 bound delegates, this could either continue to move them forward, or we'll have an idea of whether we're headed more towards an open convention.
When do you say we're guaranteed to be headed
June
towards a
7th,
convention?
you've got 303 delegates, 172 in California alone.
So
There's
you
no
won't
question.
say guaranteed until California?
You can't say guaranteed until California.
What about after
I mean,
Indiana?
there's 303 on that day alone. Once you hit that, you'll know whether or not somebody's got the bound delegates requisite to be the presumptive nominee or not.
So, Sean, you spend your time listening to voters, right, in trying to figure out what voters want.
Yeah.
We've been voting for 3 months now in
Right.
these primaries so far. What have the Republican primary voters been saying?
Well, I think there's a need for change. I think they're tired of Washington, D.C. I think they're frustrated. I think most Americans right now look at a government, whether it's the Veterans Administration not providing services to those who have served, the IRS that can't tell you how much you owe or trying to make your life more complicated, simple functions of government not working right and not feeling as though anybody's their advocate.
Isn't the president's approval rating higher than it's been, though, in a long time? Isn't it?
That's not saying much. I mean, we're still, being in the high 40s and low 50s isn't something to write home about.
Hasn't been that way for a long time, though.
That's nothing to say. I mean, look, I think on both sides, you're seeing this with Bernie Sanders and you're seeing it on our side as well. I think the American people are tired of what they're seeing out of Washington. After 8 years, they're ready for a change. They're ready for someone to talk to them and talk about the solutions that this country needs and present a vision of where we can go.
And you know where a lot of those solutions and those conversations come up? Debates. Ted Cruz is calling for 2 more debates in the great state of Indiana. Would the RNC support that?
I think if the 3 candidates that are remaining in the race want something, our position has been and will continue to be, if they want to debate and all 3 of them want to do it, we're in.
Are more debates better?
I think that as long as there's discussion, the town halls have been great. I think that they really pull a lot out of folks. CNN's done a really good job of sitting down with people, letting average Americans talk to these candidates back and forth. I think as long as there's a dialogue going on, that's a positive thing. Whether it's in the format of a debate or a town hall or a one-on-one interview, that's not for me to say. But I think we've heard a lot of candidates, what they have to say, what their positions are, has engaged a lot more Americans. And to your point about today, I mean, think about where we've been historically. The idea that these states in the Mid-Atlantic and New England, Massachusetts and Rhode Island are part of this process. Something that they haven't been in decades is really important. You're going to see all 50 states and 6 territories in the District of Columbia part of the Republican process. That's, I think, a healthy upside of this.
So goes Rhode Island, so goes the nation.
Says the Rhode Island.
That's not a good thing.
As we like to say. Let's talk about the vice presidential.
By the way, just so you know, Gina Raimondo, the Democratic governor there, for all the talk, closed 67% of the polling places in Rhode Island. So for all the talk about voting rights and voter suppression coming out of Hillary Clinton and the DNC, not once have they spoken out against Gina Raimondo's decision to cancel 67% of the. I mean, so they like to talk about it on every Republican governor when it talks to early voting, whatever. But here you have a huge, massive disenfranchisement of voters by a Democratic governor, and Hillary Clinton has been silenced. Debbie Wasserman Schultz, silence.
We would like to talk to the governor of Rhode Island. She would be a great guest on this show. We will pursue that. Let's talk about the vice presidential selection process, because Ted Cruz apparently now, far along the way. He's got a short list of possible contenders right now. If there is a contested convention, if there is no nominee headed into Cleveland, doesn't the Republican Party then and the convention itself need to take a role in selecting the vice president?
It's a great question, because as we head into Cleveland, this is going to be uncharted territory.
Right.
And there's 2 strategies, right? One is a candidate could say, if you select me, this is who I'd like the delegates to choose as my running mate. Or a candidate could leave that option vacant and say, hey, I'm going to use it as a bargaining chip going in, or I'm going to let the delegates ultimately decide. But this is going to be a really exciting Cleveland convention, no matter how you slice it.
How do you schedule it?
Yeah, seriously.
It's a work in progress. We've got a really great team out in Cleveland. We're talking with the chairman.
Is there any way a VP nominee vote would happen before you
it's
actually lock
possible,
in?
but that's unlikely. You would want the presidential nomination to occur first.
Wow.
But again, all of these decisions get made by the delegates when they go to Cleveland. One of the things that they do is set the schedule for how things are going to flow. And I think while it may make common sense, it's going to be up to them to make a recommendation to the delegates how those things will proceed.
So do you want to comment on the Cruz-Kasich deal now?
No. No,
You've had a day to think about it.
I have. What I would say is that, look, I've said this before, every campaign is going to decide what strategy is best for their candidate and employee. That's how our job at the RNC is, to be the fair arbiter of the process. We continue to do that, to shed transparency on this, to inform people of how it works. There's a website that we set up, conventionfacts.gop, that lays it all out. We launched 5 new videos today that talks about the allocation and selection of the delegates in the 5 states that have primaries tonight. So we're out there educating people, making sure that they understand the process. I'll let the campaigns run the strategy that they seem best for their campaigns.
We need a lot of educating because the delegate rules, not so easy.
No.
Not so easy, Sean Spicer.
It's a states' rights party. That's how we roll.
Sean Spicer,
Dr.
states'
Now.
rights man.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Gold, pure gold. Thank you so much.